Here.
Andy?
Here.
Kelly? Here. Sam?
Here.
Does everybody have a chance to review the minutes from our July 5th meeting? Motion to
I'll motion to approve.
second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We got some, anybody wanting to address new council approved North Polk United for fall practices at sports complex subject to Little League consent.
Yep, so I guess when I talked to people at City Hall last week, they recommended I talk to Charlie. Make sure a little. One field, mid-season, look at the grass, see how it's doing. Most likely move it from left field to right field, left field, depending on where it is. And then most likely we'll place fields in the soccer fields in the outfield of the adult fields. Where it is, but it's the play that takes place on that all the way through September 11th. So there might be a little bit of goals on and off. Field. Based, really neat. I think we have 50.
What age group would this be?
So these would be for U8 and U6. They are, I guess the way it's working out, U7 and U8 are playing together, and U5 would be a separate group, and then U6, but they're all the same size fields. So.
And then the adult softball field, for practice.
It's hard
For the
to say.
adult softball?
I would,
No, for the soccer.
I would guess we would try to play games out there.
I was just thinking if it was practice fields, we could probably go without, maybe not put goals out there and just have the lines painted, but.
Yep.
And then are the Little League fields in use? Because I know people play fall ball or they're.
Or
Field
softball,
two.
from talking to Charlie, it sounds like they're playing through, the first or second week of October, maybe.
Yeah, at least first week of October, we'll have a few teams practicing out there.
And I guess kind of thing that we had talked about was, if it's a wet, unplayable because they turn into swamps. After they're done with it, we move a field to a softball field. I guess moving forward this fall, field sizes for these ages are all the same size. They're smaller. The U8 and U7 field sizes are actually smaller, so they're all going to be the same size. Like 25 yards by 35 yards.
Yeah, I think, our, Grant and I've talked, our big concern on the Little League side for those fields is, just like your concern is for the
Soccer size.
best to, and we don't like soccer does until have them, but come springtime, if soccer's been on them all fall and they wear them down, and basically like cattle or horses have been out there grazing on them all fall, they don't have time to recover for, the baseball, softball. I mean, that's not the time of year to seed, that's not the time of year to get them, where we need to be. So Grant and I visited and, talked about, if we put them in like half the time on field one and then halfway through, let's shade left field. And we can do the same thing on field two as well, as soon as, some of the practices. And maybe Josh, I mean, we've never had a lot of baseball done in the fall like we do softball. Softball, boys usually end up moving over to football, where girls don't. Girls, ages 10U through 14U are still really almost as big as it is in the summer.
fall baseball team last year, but I don't know of any of this year.
Yeah. And on field two, there's, a few things we're doing there where we're gonna be installing sprinkler system. We still need to do some, tile work on field one towards the infield though, as well as on field two, so.
We have communication finally.
Yeah.
Between, do you guys remember several years? It's been a kind of a back and forth thing, but the fact that, I know you guys in the mayor met, and this conversation has been something that's kind of affable.
Yeah.
Pleasant is nice. And very much appreciated.
I would think it would be, it sounds like you got it worked out. Rotating the fields are good. Like I said, that's what we're trying to do on the soccer fields as well, is to move them around. So I think, if you guys keep an eye on them and you see, bring that to the attention and flip it earlier, or, if we need to rearrange it.
Third rotation.
I know Grant's been pretty cognizant of weather, if it's, if we've gotten heavy rains or whatever and the fields are muddy, since we're, have had limited field space, we've closed the fields, especially for practices a lot, just because you go out there and tear them up on a rainy night and then you're dealing with mud all year long.
The rest of the season, yeah.
I think we've gotten better at that as well, getting the word out and getting it canceled earlier rather than after teams have been out there and then trying to cancel it. So I think some things are in play as well that to help trying to ensure that there's not as bad a beat down on those fields as in the past. So
Is this, there's no alternative if they get worn down
I'm
too
all ears if
quickly?
you have other options.
No, I'm just asking, like,
Yeah,
if they get worn down quicker than we thought or anything.
So I will say for games for the older kids, I think we have 9 U13 and above teams this year. Those games on Sundays will not be at the complex. They'll be at the turf in Holloman. I've been allowed to use the old high school football field, the grass between the middle school and high school, but Rob has told me that they're using that for middle school football this year. So we don't have that space available to us. We had U8 fields by Central Elementary. Now is covered by concrete with tennis courts. There are maybe a couple other spaces at the high school, but it's tough to find a flat space out there to use that is not being driven on during football games on Friday nights.
and then also they'll have meets this year, which runs through all of that, what would be considered the flat ground where you could. So they're running that, and once they get that track down, that's where the cross-country team will practice as well. So
I know for Little League, we reach out to the city. We appreciate all they do out there for us as well as you guys. But Davis Street we use that for practices a lot, especially for our younger kids. And then the Lutheran Church is very, very good about letting us use, there's a parking lot right there.
is
We
the
had
street
to-
right up here?
Yeah,
Street's
where that
up
black
there.
stuff is.
We had to rent, Kybos for each spot, which are $45 a month, 2 of them, I think, so. But the Lutheran Church lets us put one out back by the garage, and, as long as it's back there, they don't want you going in and using the restroom, but that is this, and
He doesn't have the park. We practice 7-year-olds, even some 8-year-olds practice there. And, parents can park right along the road, and some stay, some go,
Is
but
that city ground or is that?
Yes.
That's city ground?
This is up here. The Lutheran Church is not.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It was originally bought for retirement.
It was park. It was the
Retirement
parkland dedication or
facility.
something was
Well, it
given
was-
to the city, or I don't know.
But anyway, it didn't come through yet, so it'll just be there. And are you using?
And is that mowed routinely?
Yes.
Is that on the mowing?
Yes.
it's mowed every week.
Mowing things?
And we could actually mow it, I could probably talk to Mike, and we could probably get it mowed twice a week, because it grows.
That one, yeah.
It grows more than the
Yeah,
sports complex.
so that might be an option to look, that'd be a good practice area, I would think, to.
Especially getting a lot of those little fields.
There are a lot of them
yeah,
there.
you can get a lot of
And
little fields in there.
Dave does bring up a good point. We do plan on using the Kiwanis and the Infancy fields down there.
See, last year I thought, for some reason, I thought you guys just played games on those outfields, like on field one.
I think
They practiced, yeah.
And it was when the Lakeside Fellowship purchased that ground, they mentioned that there was gonna be, land there potentially as well for flat ground, so that when you look at the future, I mean, I know that they were open to.
So, Matt Bowman's been talking to them.
You priority, okay.
Yeah, so, that's hopefully ready a year from now.
Right, but you never know. I mean,
Yeah, so depending on what summer is and that whole thing, it may or may not be ready a year from now.
Are you using the school this year?
So we'll have, for sure, one, maybe 3 U8 fields there. Last spring, we had a U8 field and U10 field. So, we're gonna use the same ground. I don't know exactly how it's gonna get configured yet, but, so that is also part of the plan as well.
It's great.
Same size moving forward this fall. 4-4.
Wow, it's crowded.
That is a directive from US Soccer, not Iowa Soccer, or even us making that choice, so.
Yeah, they're adding more players to each level.
So 56 teams, is that, what's that comparatively last year, 2 years ago? Yeah, I know you were.
I don't have those.
You guys-
It was in the 40s,
Couple years, or last year? Or
like low 40s 2 years ago, mid 40s, so it just continually.
Just shy of 500 kids, like
20%,
very
I think.
shy.
So I think in the spring we had 41 teams. Fall's always the biggest.
Fall's always bigger, yeah.
And the other thing that is causing a bigger and bigger problem is, as all these kids get older, you need bigger fields to manage them right. So you can't continue to squeeze everything into the same space you once had. For example, last spring we had 7 U13 and above full-size field. This fall we'll have 9. So, trying to fit 2 additional teams on that same space.
But that's pretty much across the whole school district, right? That's not just Polk City. Is there like Elkhart and,
So,
Are they all
from
kind
a
of part-
percentage perspective, 77% fall group are from Polk City.
77%?
And if you add Allman in, I think there's another 10% from Allman. And I haven't done the numbers from a school district perspective, just because, all right, there's some Slater addresses that are actually in our district. But I would guess we're at like 98% North Polk. So, there aren't very many that play from outside.
Have you other communities?
So we have started talking about that. I know Elkhart has approached Jason Food about purchasing land there. But again, it becomes a financial decision, right? If we were to do something like that, most likely we'd make teams outside our district so families don't have to drive back and forth the whole time. But again, those would be small fields, right? Because once you get to larger size, you don't have enough to make up multiple teams from those multiple different sizes. So.
Would the Davis land help alleviate some of this at all?
I definitely think it would. I guess the things I've heard about that in the past is if it does rain, it turns into a swamp as well.
It does in certain sections, just in the middle where they stay off
Stay in the left field area, I think, right?
a few areas.
So, we're going for that.
If there's no purpose that they couldn't, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's good deal.
Okay.
Is this something we have to vote on and approve, or just, okay.
To recommend it, we have to take it to council.
Motion to recommend taking this to council, allow them to use
Davis and-
all fields, and can we add Davis? And add
all
Davis on there as well?
I'll motion for that.
You have a second?
Yep, I second.
All in favor? Opposed? Next item is motion to approve the meandering mulch path that Ken has supplied for us. And we've all got a sample of it. Ken's not here. This is what he was able to put together as a follow-up from last month's meeting. He's got it kind of marked out here going down there. Anybody have any questions or comments regarding this? You get a motion to approve this? Motion to send it to council to approve?
Is there a cost for this then? Like,
I believe it was all mulch, if I remember right from
Yeah.
last month's discussion,
Cut
it's all
in was gonna
mulch
be
that
the
we
only-
had, that
Yeah.
the city has.
Maybe we'll cut down just a
The
little.
cutting it in, I think, would be the only expense,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
less than you, the
Minimal.
work is willing, yeah.
The cost and maintenance will be minimal is what's on from the minutes from last month. It doesn't have any additional.
I'll motion to send it.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Consider motion to move September 5th meeting to 6th due to Labor Day. Motion to approve that. Monday the 5th is,
Before, right? Okay. Sorry, we go to Canada fishing, so I'm like,
I was thinking the same thing, like,
I'm looking at the calendar going, when are we leaving? I'll motion to
I knew
approve
what you were gonna
that.
say too.
second?
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect. Ken is not here today, so no tree board report. Council report?
Yes, I have one thing to note. I set out a link and don't expect you guys to have opened it and read it yet, but the Des Moines Register named the 9 prettiest town squares in Iowa, and we were number 6. It wasn't like we paid for it, actually.
Does that come out today?
No, it was
No.
a couple weeks ago.
So are there only 9 in the whole state, and that's why they stopped at 9 and didn't do a
I don't know
top
why I
10?
didn't
Or
do 10. No, there's a ton of them, but
Yeah, there-
those places like Pella, Winterset,
There's some unbelievable ones that we included in that.
Yeah,
list.
Yeah, so I think that's just a testament to those that have put the time and effort to make that a focal point of the city and try to continue to keep that well-kept, beautiful, and keep its, what do you want to call it? Its identity. You know, it hasn't,
We're the only one in Polk County, I know that.
yeah, everything else is east and then
Yeah, we're
Pella.
the only actual square in Polk County, if I remember right. At one of the-
Southeast,
one
Orange
of
City,
the-
Washington.
One of the
Yeah.
presentations we had a couple of years ago.
And it says it's tree lined, so as long as we keep the trees
Right.
alive, we'll be doing
They
good.
know we just cut some down.
True. So yeah, I think that's
That's great.
the main thing I wanted to bring up.
have they started redoing the equipment and stuff?
Not yet.
When do we know when that's going to start?
I don't think too long. I don't know if they're waiting for the actual equipment or, I mean, I know if it was here that it would happen. And there was a couple trees that needed to be taken.
For that?
Yeah, for that. And Ken said that was perfectly fine that they needed to be, yeah, taken anyway. So yeah, that hasn't happened quite yet.
Perfect. Anything else, sir?
I don't think so. It's good, thank you.
Yes, sir?
If I might, I just want to pass on to you guys that we started the budget process early this year. We're getting started on that. We've had 2 meetings already. We're going to have more. So if you guys could, it'd be a great help to us if you'd set your priorities and let us know early so we can see if we can come up with money for.
There's the key.
We've done that in the past, and yeah, I mean, it's good, it's great. The problem, as you well know, is that we're just not, the focus is, because of the bond, we were gonna put all the forces toward it, and now that it didn't happen, it's like,
Well, I guess I wasn't thinking about it. I know we're not gonna be able to come up with money for land and fields, but if there's other things, benches, stuff that you normally don't buy, it'd be nice to add. couple, $3,000 or $4,000 onto your guys' budget. So as a council, we'd like to know what you're thinking.
The direction Lindsay had given them in the fall of last year was basically to prioritize the park. So I know the commission has been visiting the different parks and kind of compiling a list. And the idea was then for Becky and I to take that list after they're done with it and take it to Lindsay or council to then see, okay, Lost Lakes, we want to do this, 12 Oaks, we want to do this, whatever the case may be, so that it's
Good.
identified.
Good, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
But where are we at in,
Did we make it to Lost Lake?
We were gonna do
I
Lost
think
Lake.
that one
we
got
did.
canceled or.
Yeah.
even the ideas and the prioritization, I thought we were going to potentially meet to
I thought
really
we were
vet
gonna
that
go
out.
visit them all and then have them.
Okay. And I think unfortunately, we're not probably going to get to all of them. So it'll be more of us reviewing them via the map, where they're at and what they need.
So when does that need to be done by?
Well, it's, March is,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so we're actually, we're
We're way
a
ahead.
year ahead,
Okay.
which is,
Our plan was initially to have it, I would assume, to council by September, October.
We can put this on to our September agenda then?
We certainly can.
Could we
I think
try
that's a good
Lost
idea.
Lakes in September?
Try it.
I think we canceled that meeting that we were gonna have out there.
And then we had to come inside for the presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try to do Lost Lake
Okay.
for September,
6.
on September 6th. Perfect. Do we have a staff report today?
No, sir.
Do we have a public works report today?
No, sir. No news is good news, right?
That's right.
Haven't heard any complaints on the pond. Haven't heard.
What is it?
It's good.
I haven't been over there.
It's good. There's some growth,
Not as
but
bad
not,
though.
it doesn't
Like-
stink like it used to. Remember, it
In
used-
June, it started to look a little gross,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden it's like, it looks good again.
Haven't
They must
heard any
have-
compliments.
They must
No, we
have,
haven't heard any compliments, but you haven't heard any
I know, that's
complaints.
what I mean.
So, yes, Dennis, I have to give kudos to Dennis for people in finding chemicals and being very proactive.
Yeah.
So,
we go there fishing quite a bit. Katie and I, my littlest one and I, and it, nowhere what
Yeah.
it was 2 years ago, it was impossible to even try and fish.
did you catch anything?
Oh, yeah, we
Okay,
did.
just
She
checking.
caught like a 4-pound catfish the other night.
Okay.
We about pulled her in the water. She wasn't. So we always make a bet as we're walking over there. Okay, what are we betting on, biggest fish or most fish? And so she's like, biggest fish. I'm like, all right. So I'm like catching like 10 or 12 and she's caught nothing. And all of a sudden she's like, oh, and I look over, catches this big catfish. She's like, okay. So she catches one fish, but yeah. So yeah, no, it's actually a nice area, and you know the grass has kind of grown in, and it used to stink really bad when that moss was there, and that smell's gone. I mean, the people around it have to be, like I said, they're not complaining, so they have to be happy because it's actually decent now. You know, it's a usable area
On to the next thing.
till the beaver comes back up.
Yeah.
Commission report. Anything for that?
Commander survey?
No. We talked about that I would put together a survey, and summer's crazy, so I haven't done that yet, but I will. But I was wondering, like, what kind of questions do we want? Like, to me, like, I just think of, like, all activity type things for here. Like, would you do this? Would you do that? Like, I don't know. Or do we want to specifically, like, what would you like to see at this park or things like that? Like, I know talked about the activity stations along Linear Park. Like, would people actually use those? Or, you know, like, would a splash pad ever be a possibility here? Like, we aren't
There-
getting in a pool. Like, could
There
we
was
have?
at
something like
Leonard
that?
Park, there, in the original plans for Leonard Park, there was and the ground is there for a splash pad.
It was just like
It was astronomical.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like, you might as well put a pool in,
Yeah.
because you had to have all these recyclers, and, I mean, because you have to treat the water.
And you keep cycling the same
Yeah.
water through.
Yeah, I mean, it was there, but
Like, comparable. So Dean Park in Ankeny, I don't know if anyone's been to that. They just have this little, like, circle, slightly bigger than that table, and there's 4 fountains that come out of it. And it's like you touch the thing to activate it. So it goes off for, I don't know, a minute or 2, and then it stops, and you have to push it again. So there's options like that, I have no idea what the costs or like what type of thing was looked at, because a huge one would be awesome.
Yeah.
But even just
It
a
was a huge
little
one.
one like that would give us somewhere to go.
It was a big one that
into.
ran like,
So what if we had, and I've always found that when doing surveys or questionnaires that you have options and they can prioritize 1 through
Right.
4 or 5 and then put other and then comments, because otherwise people just,
So,
Yeah.
and I wasn't here last, was the purpose of the survey for the parks and like the equipment, or more for like the activities and stuff that we had talked about, like yoga,
Yeah. We
fitness?
kind of said both. I mean, like, we have us that we can prioritize the parks, but if you can get even a little more input, like, what do you want to see? And I think we represent a good portion of the community, but like, bringing in even more. But again, and then like SurveyMonkey, you can do 100 responses for free. I don't know like what kinds of surveys have been done before, or if the city has an account, or then it was like, do you do a survey for like older adults and younger families so you can reach more? Like, like to me, I'm like, yeah, everybody would answer that. But I know so I don't know if 100 responses is as much as we can possibly hope for.
I don't know. I would recommend talking with Jake Schreier,
And
because there's links that we can do from the website, and I know we did that. Now I think Schneider actually put together the survey when we did the comp plan with P&Z, and then John Calhoun did a survey for, I think, the Four Seasons for I can't remember what it was for.
For the bond, probably.
Maybe the
Yeah,
bond.
for the bond, I think.
So I mean, there are resources we can use. I know the city itself doesn't have an account, but I also know that the responses have been minimal. Like Jake just put together a survey for that commingling of our trash. There wasn't a lot of response.
that's like park opportunities is way more exciting.
Correct.
Than that.
Now I will let you know, I should have mentioned earlier on the staff report, council did approve a, what was it called? Bike hub, fix-it station.
Oh, yeah.
Thing.
Well, it's temporary permanent. I don't know if I can put it though.
Down at the square.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I'm not sure exactly where, but yeah, it's like a,
Have you seen these bicycle stations where you can stop and fix a flat, or
Des Moines has those.
It's
yeah.
self-service.
there's also past in New York City? I think the location was Town Square. I'm not entirely certain. Mike Schulte's in charge of getting that ordered and in. But again, that's a more minimal cost. I think the cost was $1,200. So as you guys are thinking about things, and in the survey, obviously we don't want to open up a can of worms with the residents that says, oh, we're going to have a skate park.
Right.
But I think where you were going specifically with not necessarily naming the parks, but at your local neighborhood park,
Yeah.
what amenities would you like to have? And then a list of things that are not unreasonably priced specifically, like for instance, this bike thing, we don't need to list that because we're already getting one, but those are the kinds of things maybe that we can direct. When you start getting into more of the activities, that's probably going to require either hiring a person that's a director of parks activities and then getting people to come in and do yoga and those kinds of things, or individual companies are coming in. And I know, for instance, I don't know who it is, but a gal is conducting, I'm assuming you pay her to go to Town Square twice a week and you do yoga in the park or some form of fitness training.
Actually, they do it in Ashley's, and what's
Okay.
nice,
They come out to so there you go. So I think that's probably where those activities are going to go, where more businesses could come in. So you might want to even think about partnering something like that with the chamber or John Calhoun. If you want to go down towards the activities like tennis lessons or, those kinds of things, because it's going to really be more business minded on who wants to come here and do business, because we're not going to have a tennis instructor.
Right.
We're going to have to, it's going to have to be a company. So there's maybe 2 things that you're trying to accomplish.
And then I feel like since I just haven't really been a part of this that long, is that right if I just kind of like email out this group, like here's what I have right now, and then everybody sends me feedback? I don't have to wait for a meeting to do anything. All right. We'll do that.
Anybody else? Thank you. All right, motion to adjourn until September 6th.
So moved. Motion, sorry, not moved. Can't do it that way. I'll motion to approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Twitter survey. Survey anything on Twitter. You're gonna get responses from all over.
He got a new shirt with like the Olympic dream team or something. I don't know. You'll see him wearing it sometime.